Selps kicks things off with 8-7 suited. This is a hand that can be extremely powerful if the flop falls just right. So currently with McClung on the raise, she is just calling in order to see the pot as cheaply as possible. Herrings and Sanchez both limp call and pray for a good flop. Let's see what the dealer has in store for them.
10, 9, 6. What a flop! A straight flush draw for Vanessa Selbst and a set of sixes for Chris McClung.
With this type of flop, it will be a full-on battle of stacks. Vanessa with the straight on the flop and a potential straight flush is in prime position to extract value from the guys that think they have something to play for. And McClung with his set of sixes does exactly that. He bets more than $1,000, inflating the pot for Selbst.
Herring also flopped pretty huge, like his arms.
After this attempt at humor, Selbst and Herring limp into the turn, and Sanchez folds, which is kind of disappointing because Selbst could have extracted more value before the turn.
And there is the straight flush for Vanessa Selbst.
Now that Selbst has the straight flush, she is unbeatable and is begging that somebody raises. But unfortunately for her, I don't know if they read her or it was pure luck. Both McClung and Herring check, which Selbst then follows. The river delivers the 10 of clubs, which is the perfect card to bait McClung into thinking that having a full house is somehow the strongest hand on the table, which he 100% falls for and bets $4,000. He doesn't want anyone who isn't committed to the hand to be playing it. Selbst takes her sweet time in deciding what to do, which is understandable. When you know you have the best hand on the board, you have the tough decision to make on what size raise do you make to extract maximum value.
I'm all in.
She moves all in. Herring folds, decision on McClung.
Herring understandably folds this wild all-in raise from Selbst, but I am wondering whether McClung will take the bait with this full house that he has.
It is bottom full house. Maybe he gets away.
I call.
No, he calls.
Daniel Negreanu has pocket kings.
Raises? Queen high.
Queen high?
He opens the pot to $1,200, a classic early position flex that targets the blinds and sets up a pot he can steer in position. Phil Hellmuth, smooth, calls, choosing pot control and range protection over a thin 3-bet. Eugene Kachelov comes along as well with ace-9, content to realize in position and take a multi-way flop against two ranges that can play face-up on ace-high textures. Kachelov checks the ace-high flop, protecting a top-pair hand with a middling kicker and letting the action declare itself. Negreanu checks behind. Pocket kings hate attacking into two players on an ace board, and the slow down keeps weaker hands and bluffs alive while controlling the pot. Hellmuth takes the invitation and fires $1,200, a small stab meant to fold out nothing hands and price set against exactly these cautious checks. Kachelov calls, signaling he is not afraid of a little heat with top pair. Negreanu overcalls, a cagey line that keeps both ranges uncapped and disguises the true strength of kings by wearing the same hoodie as ace-X.
You too, Daniel?
Yeah.
My God.
You didn't expect two calls,
No,
right?
I
Just one.
was expecting one call.
No.
All three check the turn after the 8 rolls off. That card changes little. Kachelov sees no need to inflate with his kicker problem. Hellmuth's one-and-done bluff correctly shuts down into two sticky ranges, and Negreanu continues the sandbag, preserving the option to spring value or bluff catch on rivered scare cards. The river drops the king of clubs and the trap wakes up. Kachelov leads $4,200, thin value that hopes to get paid by worse aces and denies a free showdown to stubborn pairs. Negreanu answers with a raise to $14,200, selling a story consistent with a slow-played monster or a patient ace that improved, and crucially targeting the very hand Kachelov is value betting.
I think Phil's Hollywooding a bit here since he bet out on the flop.
Hellmuth gets out of the way, his earlier poke having run its course. Faced with a credible, disciplined raise from a player who never overbets his bluffs, Kachelov has to reassess whether ace-9 is really a cash-out hand or a tip jar.
And Eugene folds.
No, I had at least that.
Tony G is looking down on pocket threes. Pre-flop. This is Tony G doing Tony G things. Reynolds opens with ace-queen, the classic I probably have the best hand raise. Tony wakes up and decides his threes are not just a set mining hand, they are a leverage hand.
We'll re-raise.
He bumps it to 5,000, not huge, but enough to isolate and make Reynolds play a big pot out of position.
Never been caught this much bluffing in probably I don't know, 10 years. Like, in the last...
I have to call.
I understand. I want you to call.
It's a gentleman's call.
The flop comes a dream board for Reynolds, and a pretty miserable one for Tony. Top pair top kicker versus a tiny underpair with no club and no real backdoor plan. When Reynolds checks, he caps his range just enough for Tony to feel obligated to keep telling the story.
Qualifying on this board has to at least be a backdoor draw, so you have like 3-4 plus.
I do have a backdoor.
Backdoor wheel draw.
He calls.
I fold my hand right now.
The turn is the 3 of diamonds, and that single card flips the world upside down. Tony goes from hopelessly behind to stone crushing with bottom set.
Be wary.
The pot is already chunky. Reynolds checks a second time, and Tony now has every incentive to shovel money in while the board still belongs to the top pair player.
If you do call, I will check the river, don't worry. That's like the last bet that I just want to make sure I'm not in really bad shape.
Reynolds again only calls. With top pair, top kicker, and a redraw to improve, he is never folding.
Don't come out betting on me, just check a dark.
I can't do all that dark stuff.
The river brings the 9 of clubs, completing the front door club flush. From Tony's perspective, this is the one card he did not want to see.
That's like a river now that I'm going to struggle to be called on. But I'll still bet 30,000.
When Reynolds checks a third time, Tony has a choice: shut it down and hope to win at showdown, or bet thin, trusting that Reynolds has a one-pair hand too strong to fold, but not strong enough to raise.
Spread the pot, please. Man, Tony. You have to be value betting yourself.
Reynolds
here.
calls.
A set's good. Any set's good.
That's good.
You having a good time, Tony? Things working out for you?
But the river cost me a lot. I mean, I could have made a real pressure cooker there.
Vanessa Russo is looking down on pocket aces. Pre-flop, this looks like a routine spot that secretly sets Vanessa up for maximum pain. She opens to 1,000 with aces, the dream starting hand, and gets flatted by Lex on the button with king 4 of clubs. Suited king in position versus a single raise is completely standard for him. He is not trying to make a monster. He is trying to play pots and lean on people post-flop. What Vanessa sees is a competent pro calling wide on the button. What she does not see is that this exact hand shape is built to crack an overpair on a low-paired board.
Right here? This is the weird spot?
No, that hand's the weird spot.
The flop comes king 4-3. For ranges, this is a disaster for Vanessa and a celebration for Lex. She still has the overpair advantage in theory, but in practice his flatting range includes all the suited king X and random sets. He decides not to get fancy and leads 2,500, a small, confident attack that says, "I connected." With top and bottom pair, he is miles ahead of all her one-pair hands, yet still vulnerable to overpairs and bigger kings. So betting to define the hand and start building a pot is perfect. The turn brings the queen, which is one of those cards that helps the aggressor's story more than it helps anyone's actual hand. From Vanessa's perspective, it is a brick. From Lex's seat, it is time to defend from the possible king-queen. When he fires 7,700, he is saying, "I still have it, and this board keeps getting better for me." With top and bottom pair, he is now comfortably ahead of every overpair. The only real disasters are sets or slow-played king-queen. Vanessa again just calls. That second call is very telling. She is no longer trying to protect aces. She is explicitly putting Lex on a king or a bluff and deciding to ride the hand down as a bluff catcher. The river pairs the 3, and that seemingly harmless card quietly locks in the cooler. Lex's kings and 4s are now counterfeited. When he bets 18,400 for the third time, the line is completely coherent.
Oh, sick river. Unbelievable.
Pretty good with these rivers with aces.
Trickett kicks things off with 6-5 of spades. This is an extremely speculative hand that aggressive players like Trickett love. Trickett has already raised $200,000, and our villain is considering his options.
That's 3. 335, 35.
With almost $200,000 already in the pot, paying $50,000 should be nothing. And our Bulgarian villain thinks the same as he calls with his Jack 7 of spades. The flop comes 2-9-3 with 2 spades. Now Trickett is hoping for the 4 of spades, and the Bulgarian is begging the dealer for almost any spade but the 4. After the villain shows weakness with his check, Trickett looks like he will take matters into his own hands. And he does exactly that. He fires a bet for $80,000, which is about 1/3 of the pot. Now the ball is in the court of the Bulgarian. I think his best option is to just call and play along for another card and hope it's a good spade. After some thoughtful consideration, he does the reasonable thing and calls to see the turn. Let's see how will that play out for him.
So we see the turn card, and it's the 4 of spades. Wow, what a card. That has made Sam Trickett a straight flush. He is absolutely unbeatable in this hand. And Igor Kurganov has got a jack-high flush, so he'll think that he's unbeatable.
This is what we call a cooler, Jono. All the chips are going into the middle. Sam has the absolute nuts. He's got the best hand possible.
The turn delivering the 4 of spade is the best thing that could have happened to Trickett, and the worst for the Bulgarian villain. Now he will think that he has a good flush when in fact he is drawing completely dead. With Trickett betting $180,000, the price of 1/3 of the pot is not too bad for a call here. What would you do in that position? Would you fold, or would you go all in? Let me know in the comments.
Mullen, call.
Vanessa is looking down on ace-jack offsuit. Pre-flop is a quiet trap that Vanessa sets on purpose. Antonio opens the button light, which Vanessa flat calls from the small blind, and Shak completes. By not 3-betting, Vanessa keeps both dominated aces and splashy suited connectors in. Multiway, in position on Antonio and with Shak behind, ace-jack plays beautifully. She wants exactly this kind of pot. That's top pair, top kicker for Vanessa on a very wet texture. Instead of checking to the razor and risking a free card or a check-through 3-way, she leads $165K. It's a protection lead that charges every draw and worse jack. Shak's hand is the textbook, raise the donk, candidate, pair plus clubs plus straight equity. He bumps it to $400K, telling a story of strength while leaning on fold equity plus a ton of ways to improve. Vanessa just calls. No reason to blow up the pot against a range that includes bluffs and dominated value. And if she 3-bets, she mostly isolates the strongest stuff or gets shoved on by draws with tons of equity. Flat keeps the leash tight. Turn pairs the board. That card quietly helps Vanessa more than Shak. Sets are less likely now. Her jack stays very live, and a bunch of Shak's pair-based value gets neutered. He still has all the draws, though.
All in.
And Shak shoves!
I call.
Vanessa calls! It's a 10! That was not supposed to happen.
Bendinelli kicks things off with pocket eights. This is a hand that can be extremely powerful, especially in a heads-up match. With $7 million already in the pot, Bendinelli can extract a lot more value.
Oh boy, we got a set of 8s for Bendinelli.
Oh no.
Top pair for Guerrero.
With Guerrero's weak check, Bendinelli can now completely take over the pot. The only question is how big of a bet he makes. So Guerrero stays and makes the pot bigger. Bendinelli is not looking to let Guerrero see a cheap flop and fires a $2.5 million bet. That is almost 1/3 of the pot. But with the top pair on the flop, Guerrero is not looking as if he will back down. He doesn't disappoint and calls Bendinelli's bet. This pot is getting enormous.
Turn is a
Oh,
jack.
wow.
Oh, no.
What a setup.
Oh, such a cold deck.
Cold deck city. Guerrero covered.
With an insane amount of luck, Guerrero pulls a 3rd jack that completes his jack trips. This completely turns the game on its head, but only in Guerrero's head. Bendinelli is now sitting comfortable on a full house and is looking to extract even more value. Bendinelli is completely aware of how strong of a position he now finds himself in. That's why he fires a $5.5 million bet that is there to prevent weaker hands from playing for the river and maybe dissuade stronger opponents with weak mental game. But fortunately for Bendinelli this time around, Guerrero is anything but a poker player with weak mental game. He is completely unaware of the kind of trap he is walking in and confidently calls the enormous bet from Bendinelli.
River.
Oh
the
my
board pairs, but it's the 8.
No!
It's quad
No.
8 for Bendinelli.
Wow.
This is unbelievable. This is the coldest of decks. It doesn't get any colder than this, Maria.
I'm glad you got a sweatshirt for this hand, Nick.
Insane
The turn delivers another 8, which completes the quads for Bendinelli, which I can't believe I am saying again in this video, but is even luckier than Guerrero's Jack. Now Guerrero is first on the move. He has a big choice ahead of himself, and I am starting to believe, based on his previous ones, that he will make the wrong one. And the wrong one he does. He fires a slightly smaller bet of $3.8 million, which looks completely abysmal from where we are sitting. I can't think of a reason he would commit so hard to such a weak hand other than a bad earlier read. Bendinelli with his quads doesn't really have anything to think about, other than baiting Guerrero and paying even more on this disaster of a hand. What do you think? Will he bet half the pot, or will he go crazy and shove all in? Let me know in the comments.
Put this to bed. Announces all in. Guerrero hasn't snap called. There's just no way. There's the call from Guerrero. It's over.